Terrum Part 1. James Taylor. Chapter 2. The next day James slept long till evening because he hasn't had a good sleep for days now. He continued to sleep along with Oscar, who was not so tired but lazy, lying besides James. The door smashes open and produces a large thud noise, almost knocking Oscar off bed and waking James. He saw a blurred figure just at door yelling, "Wake up! We'll miss the fair." James puts on his glasses to find Josh standing there yelling the same words with a slight variation every time. It's 1 p.m. and the fair ends at 3 p.m. Why haven't you woken up till now? We've missed most of it. Get up or we'll miss the rest too. Josh told James all about the fair as they were getting down from the stairs. The fair is to celebrate the new year and it is the biggest festival of the year, here. Listening, James got more and more intrigued to see the fair. By the time they finished the stairs, James was extremely tired and exhausted to think about anything as such like Josh. They took a small break in the cafe before they continued. After a very quick evening tea, both set off again, and Josh just told them that they'd have to take the civil train to reach the next town where the fair this year was being held. The train station was near, but it wasn't anything like the ones in Human World, which shocked James. The station was an old building in a desolate plain where they had arrived by taking a lift. Inside was an old man selling tickets. Josh bought 2 tickets and the tickets said that the train would be here in no time. What does no time mean? James asked in curiosity. There is no specific time for trains to arrive. They are all time every time. James didn't exactly got what Josh told him, but still followed him to the 3rd floor, time chamber, which he read on the lift button. James was pleased to see an elevator instead of stairs. The elevator opened and they entered in black room with number 0 there ends. As the doors of the elevator closed, there was no light coming into that room, making it completely dark, completely black. James hears the same glass breaking sound that he heard when traveling through the bus, and suddenly an engine starts heating and a door opens through the blackness, revealing a train interior. Both walked in and found themselves between people who looked from different times into a single train. Look, we booked a time station train, meaning everyone from any time period except from future will travel in a single train, making a need of no more trains than one. Josh explained. Don't they get full? Number. You know, this is a flaw we found in time travel. We can't see or feel our future or say anyone's future, and the people you see around don't know you're here. You are physically not here, for them, making technical infinite space with a single tron. Oh, you do know a lot about trains. Yeah, my favorite topic. Slowly the darkness covering the windows dissolves, revealing the building they were in, and the train walked through the walls as if nothing was there and flew high into the sky, which revealed the planes and the building, which were getting smaller and smaller each second until they disappeared into clouds, covering the windows with blue sky. How long would it take to reach? Not more than 15 minutes. James comforted himself near the window seat just beside Josh. James was looking at the ancient, modern and sometimes medieval people lurking around and remembering from which era they were from with the help of what he learned in history, human school subject. Josh started peeking here and there, and whenever he talked to anyone he had no answer back. There was an old man who looked as if from 16th BCE, from whom Josh called by tapping on his shoulder to get his attention, but his hand passed right through him. I hate it here, no one to talk to except you. James and Josh spent most of their time talking to each other. The train slowly decreases its speed and gets lower and lower through the clouds, revealing a magnificent fair with shops of all sizes and thousands of people wandering around. The train finally came to a stop when it landed just in front of the door of the fair. Josh hurried to get out, reaching even before the gates of the train were open, and James had to follow as he didn't know much about the place. They walked out and saw a large round gate, double the size of an average one, was covered with brick walls where they were standing. They both walked in with an expression of excitement through the rusting gate. It was crowded with many people that one couldn't even get past from one shop to other without tackling the other person. Stay close, Josh said. If you get lost here, you may never return until your death. This is the fair when it's almost to an end, James said, sarcastically. Josh cuts James off and runs towards a shop which went underground. James had to follow for not getting lost. It was an horror underground adventure train. Yes. My favorite place, Josh said. Let's get in. Inside was a normal small house covered with ghost stickers, cutouts and even the real ghosts. On of them was introducing himself to a herd of people. Myself Oliver Kindle. I'm thou guide from this ride. He then walked to a set of doors. Select the ride, pay and enjoy the mystery and horror. Josh walked up to the cheapest door, which was very old and rotten out, and paid for himself. James followed and did the same. The ride begins. Another ghost said. It was a big hall with no one except them and many very realistic feeling props scattered around here and there. The duo walked through the hall looking for stuff to do, and here, James shouted to call Josh there and showed him that he had spotted a lever. Pull it, Josh said. James pulled the lever and a donkey carriage appears before them with a ghost driving it. Both of them got on the carriage and it started to move, and soon it took the way down, but it was all floor there, but it passed through it, revealing the open sky. It was nothing scary. Josh and James started to look for something spooky in the empty void, but nothing. We've been ripped off, Josh said rather angrily. Suddenly a slow growl was heard. It was getting more and more loud by each second, and the carriage man spoke for the very first time. "Jay, ya back's ready." Suddenly a dragon leapt out with some fire on his head and tail, which followed the carriage. The carriage took a very hard turn, almost knocking James's glasses off. The dragon was following them with more speed, but their safari didn't slow either. The dragon chasing the cart. The dragon was now toe to toe with the carriage. Red burning flames erupted from the dragon's nose, showing that he was angry. James felt as if he was standing right next to the sun. His heart was thumping hard, and he could tell that Josh was feeling the same. If they don't escape successfully, they would die. The cart moved hard up. James and Josh were almost knocked out, but were just hanging by the hands to the carriage, and finally the dragon following them was falling behind. No, he slowed down. Suddenly the dragon was out of sight and the carriage got normal again and took a stop. Both got to their seats again and the carriage person wasn't there. They felt a bit safe that the dragon wasn't around, but the same growls started to be heard again. Josh panicked along with James. There was no one to save them from the dragon. Now they were gonna die. The screeches were getting louder, and with no other option, James jumped to the seat of driver and got the ropes of the two donkeys. "Do you know how to drive?" "No. I tried it once when I was a kid with my parents. I fell off." "You have paren." The dragon was behind them again. James pulled the ropes and the donkeys screeched. They were back into the chase. The dragon was now much faster, or they were slower, but it didn't matter because this time in seconds he was back toe to toe with them. James pulled the ropes again much harder this time, but it instead of increasing the speed it went on decreasing. The dragon stopped again, falling behind, slowly becoming not visible, but James didn't know how to stop the carriage and still continued to fly away. It went all silence. "I guess he's tired," Josh said. It continued for a minute and the donkeys finally had got a stable speed, their walking speed. Suddenly a second dragon came from ahead. James somehow managed to drive the carriage backwards much faster this time, as the donkeys were also too scared to die. They continued for a while and turned round, much smoother. They were racing, but the same dragon was ahead of them nearly 10 miles. He was cleaning something off his nose. The dragon heard the carriage and started following them again. They were chased by a dragon from front and also from behind. "Hold tight," James yelled. They took the hardest right turn yet, which almost knocked both from the carriage, but somehow they still managed to stay still. Now they were chased by two dragons at a time. They were surely gonna die this time, if not now, thought James. But luckily the dragons started fighting each other for their supper. They still continued when the dragons fell behind again, fighting each other for them as their food. A large growl was heard and the pink, second one, dragon was back on the chase. James knew that they were going to stop soon, as the donkeys were too tired. They were slowing down. Josh was again and again yelling at James to increase the speed, but nothing was done. The dragon was just beside them, no ahead of them, and he opened his mouth wide before aiming a large burning red fire towards them. Both closed their eyes in fear as the Reaper was waiting for them. After a second or two they noticed that they were falling and opened their eyes. There were no donkeys, the dragon still following them from behind, and they were falling hard on the ground. If they continued for more than a second now they would reach the ground and die. James was falling independently from the carriage just like Josh. Josh. Do something. Use magic. Sorry. I can't. Why? The tension was rising and Josh had already expected Death Reaper to be on the ground waiting for them. Both closed their eyes. They fell short on the ground. They weren't hurt at all. James heard someone laughing and saw a boy at their age standing near the door and laughing. James woke Josh up with himself and walked to the boy. It was all just an illusion crafted to scare them by the shop. Hey, scared cats. The boy said. Who are you? Stop laughing. Josh said. Robert Ronvier's my name. You, the son of Richard Ronvier, are a thrown-out wizard. Josh said angrily. Why are you here? Haha. Some of you don't know. I'm a wizard-born sorcerer. Wizards. Sorcerers. James said, confused. Josh was looking rather surprised to hear what Robert had said and walked backwards. Stay away. My parent told me all about wizards and you. You might not be one but still have the blood, don't you? Who even wants to know you, idiot? Josh was looking like a time bomb that would explode on Robert at any moment. You. Josh was cut up by James, who trying to drag him out of the room. Why are you so hostile? James said, who was the only cool person there, and he somehow managed to drag Josh away from Robert in time without Josh's anger exploding on Robert. They were out of the fair stall. Josh was still in bad mood with a pretty confused James walking besides him through the fair. Who was him, back there? And why were you erupting for no reason at him? James said, still walking. He was a wizard. In our territory. Josh said. Wizard. What is that? And that yes, sorcerer. What is it? Josh suddenly stopped. How come you don't know? He said. Josh dragged James to an empty alley just beside a potions shop. By now, I am pretty sure you're not from here. He said, pretty seriously. If you want to stay here, this city, anywhere near us, near your people, you need to know it. Yes, but James was cut off by Josh. We are sorcerers. We don't need any item to channel our magic, it's in our vein. Those wizards are the ones who need it. They're wands, without it they are just humans. So he was a wizard's son. Yes. They're jealous of us as they think that they're not as powerful. Okay, but why were you so outraged? We all are. They killed many members of our community and the order. The what? The order government here has made two parts of this place. One for us and another for them. No one is allowed to pass through the lines. They, the wizards, practice dark magic, and if they do the same here we would too be corrupted. What kind of magic? I don't know. It is unknown to us, but the thing we know is that it is not very good for our mental health. Can't just the government, ban it? No. Josh said, looking as if he never thought about it. No, they won't listen. Since the Midgard incident. Midgard, Earth, the place where non-mages live, since that incident, they've started not to follow the order. No one knows why. A silence fell through as James was thinking about everything and was trying to think of something to speak and ask, but he couldn't find anything. I guess we should toss it aside and enjoy the fair. James said, feeling quite guilty of ruining such a day. Yes, I don't wanna think of those devils again. Both walked quietly out from the alley and found that the crowd had just doubled through their chat. They started walking again through the crowd looking for some fun ride to do or something good to eat through the fair when James suddenly spotted a head. Just the head, as the lower body was covered through the crowd around, and immediately recognized him as Aidan Warlock, the person about whom James read while reading a book at Magical Books Library. He was so intrigued because he had read that he was one of the greatest magician of all time, so he ran to see him through the dense crowd trying to get a better look. It was actually him standing on a red stage with a green backdrop saying, Aidan Warlock's Adventures. And he was giving a speech. Single quote ... I thought I'd die that time, but I don't know how I survived and then became a proof against Silas in the order court. when suddenly a lady interrupted his and asked, "Sir, what about your old friend Moodskeeper?" "Ah, the good old days. He was one of my best friend. We did many missions and discoveries together. He was the best spell maker I've seen, but one day he just disappeared and never returned." James was listening to him with such great interest, but few moments later a big and loud siren rang through and Aiden announced, "Guys, I'll end it here and recommend that you two leave or you'll be trapped here until tomorrow when the fair reopens. You have 30 minutes. Everyone started pushing each other with force, trying to return to the entrance gate, and Aiden started to pack the mic with some hand gestures and spells. James now looked to his right and there was no Josh. He hadn't noticed for that long that Josh wasn't with him because he was too invested in the adventures. James started panicking as only a very few dozen people were now at the fair and he was lost with no help out. He didn't know the way to the entrance, but then suddenly a voice spoke. "Hey little boy." It was Aiden calling James. "Where are your parents?" "Here alone. I am lost. I was with my friend, I can't find him now." "Okay then, I'll help you find him." "What's his name again?" "Josh Joseph." "Don't panic. We still have 20 minutes before it disappears." James was scared to think anything, so he just followed Aiden even though his parents taught him not to trust strangers, but he wasn't a stranger. James knew many of his adventures and he even worked for the Order. James heard from Aiden himself in the speech. "Where do you live?" Aiden asked while still walking and looking for Josh. "Jerkin City," James said, nervously, and finally managed to gather the courage to ask, "What is your job? I heard you go on missions." "What missions?" "I'm actually a spell maker. I make different spells for the public to use, but you know this is quite a dangerous job as I sometimes find dangerous spells too, and it's again my job to avoid these spells getting in the wrong hands. This made me have quite some adventures to retire them back." Can you teach me a spell?" "Do you have your activator?" "Acticator?" "Yes, activators. These are items used by young sorcerers to be able to do magic until their soul is balanced. Do you have one?" "No." "Oh, sorry then. I can't help it, but won't you go to Starward?" "Why, yes." "Okay. Then I'll tech you there. I'm the physical spells teacher there. You know, part-time to earn some extra." "Oh." James sighed as he found nothing to speak of and got more nervous. "Hey, what kind of items do you mean?" Just like watches, rings, bracelets, lockets are the common ones. I personally got glasses to wear. It was weird at the start." "Are you new here? Like you don't know anything?" Aiden added suspiciously. "Yes, I lived back on Earth, you know. I didn't had any idea of magic until someone got me here." "So you're one of those kind?" Aiden said, fascinated. "What kind?" "You know, people like you are rare here. Most of the mages live here. We don't have the same blood. Wizards, sorcerers and humans have different bloods, but very rarely in 1,000 years people like you are born." "Like me?" "Yeah, people with different parents than what they are. They're called transmutants. The society has a weird look for them, but you know I am a scientist. I love the kind." Hearing this, James suddenly remembered about Robert, the wizard-born sorcerer. This had his respect much higher for Robert than it was after seeing his behavior. Then the same bell rang, but much longer this time. "We need to find him fast. Only last 10 minutes. Aiden started hurrying and looking for Josh through the crowd, and suddenly a voice, far distant, was shouting, James here." And James saw a very small dark brown-headed boy waving from a corner running up to him. It was Josh. James told Aiden that he found him until Josh finally reached them and said hurriedly, "I thought I lost you. Where were you?" Then he started getting his breath back by relying on his legs for support. Josh looked up to see James and to start the rant of questions again, but stopped as soon as he saw Aiden standing and grinning over him. "Aiden Warlock," he said, looking so surprised. "I'm your biggest fan." Aiden's smile got much wider. Sir, please, an autograph." James was so shocked to see Josh so desperately wanting the autograph of someone he just walked and had been so casual with. "Sure," Aiden said quietly, as if this behavior is normal, at least to him. "I've read all your books," Josh said in excitement. "All 3. "Yes, all 3. Aiden waved his hand and some small sparkles erupted from his pointing finger, which later turned up to be a magazine with his face on the cover and written in bold above. The star icon of this century, Aiden Warlock. Which Aiden signed with a green pen which appeared along with the magazine and gave it to Josh. Josh jumped excitedly into air, grabbing the magazine and looking at his autograph from all possible ways. I can't believe it. I met Aiden Warlock. Bloody hell. So are you excited for your first Starward year? Aiden said to swipe the current topic. Yeah, but not as much to meet you. Josh. James said, getting Josh's attention as he thought Josh had forgot about him. He's going to Starward with us. James added normally. Why'd he go there? It's for newcomers, not for one of the greatest magician for all time. Josh said while looking back at Aiden for his confirmation. Lucky for you, I'm actually coming there as a teacher for physical spells. Josh's jaw dropped as he was shaking in excitement. You are coming to teach us? Yes, but better talk later. Everything's gonna disappear soon. Let me help you. Aiden snapped his fingers and all three of them were now in front of the entrance gate with the speaker yelling. Last train to Jerkin City. Hurry up, Aiden said hurriedly. Aren't you coming? No, I still have work here. Now go. The train had started moving and James barely got along with Josh, who was still looking out of the window to get every last view of Aiden left, and as soon as Aiden disappeared from view, Josh and James got back to their earlier seats. Do you know who he was? The greatest person ever alive, the best actor, the best spellmaker and even the best adventurer. Josh said while settling down. Yes, I do. I met him. I know him, he helped me find you. What? Josh's jaw dropped again, but he got it back up. Why, you got lost? Not me. I'm jealous. James laughed, looking at the look of disgust on Josh's face. Why always me? Wait, yes, you. You are a friend of his now. Tell him to be my friend too, please. Won't you do it for your friend? James sighed awkwardly. Yes, if you say so. The rest of the ride went Josh talking some or the other adventure of Aiden, among which James already heard from Aiden himself but stayed quiet and just listened to his friend talking about someone else for a long and continued hour. They got back to Josh's home and picked up Oscar from there, who was again just sleeping beside the bowl of food James left for him before leaving. They got him and all three got to James's room to chill and left Oscar sleeping again on the carpet and sat down looking down at him. Not more than 15 days before I meet Aiden. Sorry, the great Aiden Warlock again at school. Yeah, about that Starward, tell me more about it. Like it's so different from the schools back there. It's the biggest sorcery school around. The best teachers are there and especially Aiden Warlock. Know the system of education there. It's pretty cool of what I heard yet, isn't it? I also don't know much about it too, but I heard that it has four houses to be in. Houses. Yes, the place where we stay and have classes along with. Which houses? They are 4 and are like the Midnight House, my least favorite. The Amethyst House, the powerful ones. Roselia House, the smart one, not us, and the best one is Verdant House, the house for the best ones, us, James's. Whoa. Doesn't stop. They have their own mascots. Midnight has owls, who even likes owls non-magics. Amethyst has dragons, suits them, actually. Roselia has unicorns, don't ask why, and finally Verdant has griffins like Grubbin, Josh's griffin. Oh. I'd rather like dragons or griffins. Owls are not bad either, but unicorns are the worst. I of course like griffins. I've got one back home. Likes to stay home. Might change when older. And is there any procedure before getting in? Not much, just have to send a letter for qualification as a sorcerer. A letter? James said. Worried. Wait. You haven't sent a letter yet? Josh said angrily. Today's the last day and it's almost over. No. James said. Shocked. Now what? James added, trembling. Get a parchment. James runs fast over to the table and gets the free parchment provided with a very old pen and hands it to Josh, who starts writing something immediately. After a while, when he finished, he handed the letter to James to take a look and correct if needed. James reads the following letter. Respected Principal, I, James Taylor, Am here to apply for the magical school year of Starward. I am exactly 13 and I am applying for first year. The following details are: birth date, the 25th of December 1980. Current age, 13 years. City of origin, Jerkin City, Jerkin Jane Cafe. Preferred house, verdant green. Pet, cat Oscar. Thanks for accepting my request to join your school of sorcery this year. Loyal student, James Ryan Taylor. James read everything thoroughly, still shaking, and finally nodded to Josh, who immediately grabbed the letter, got another piece of paper, and made an envelope out of it which looked real and convincing enough. He inserted the folded letter into the envelope. We still need a seal of approval to send it, he said while thinking and walking around, back and forth. Josh opened the door and ran down the stairs, followed by James. They got much faster this time as they were hurrying, and Josh got to the reception table first. Is there any chance of getting a seal of approval? I am quite in a hurry right now. The man didn't spoke as always and looked through his drawers under the serving table, then the register, then the cutlery, and finally in his pockets, where he found one and handed Josh. It was an empty rectangular stamp with some space to write on it, where Josh wrote, "To Starward Post Office," and stuck it on the top right of the letter and again wrote the same on the envelope too. Josh hurried through the door, outside, followed by James, into the midnight Jerkin Street, which was lighted beautifully with neon orange light hanging in air, giving it the moodiness feel. Josh found an easy open spot as there were not many people wandering around. Go to the office," Josh whispered into the envelope. Suddenly 2 wings popped out of the envelope, one from each parallel side, and Josh held his hands outstretched into the air before jumping and letting the envelope fly away. The envelope flew higher and higher into the air and finally disappeared from sight. "It'll reach school by tomorrow. You're safe now. Thanks," James said in a shameful and low voice which Josh wasn't able to hear. "You almost missed your school year if it weren't for me. Thanks," James repeated in a loud but again shameful voice.